Admiral Hyan Ki stood on the observation deck of Luna Station and watched the sky fill with death. The alien ships came like a dark cloud, blocking out the stars one by one. He had seen many things in his 40 years of service, but nothing like this. Thousands of warships stretched across space, each one bigger than Earth's largest city. "Sir, we're getting readings from all over the system," said Captain Taeho Park, his voice tight with worry. "They have ships near Mars, Jupiter, even past Pluto. We're completely surrounded." Hyan Ki nodded slowly. He had known this day might come. Earth scientists had picked up strange signals from deep space for years. Messages that spoke of a great empire that ruled the galaxy. An empire that conquered world after world, turning free people into slaves. "How many ships?" Hyan Ki asked. "At least 10,000, sir." "Maybe more. Our scanners can't count them all." 10,000 ships. Earth had maybe 200 warships, and most of those were small patrol boats. It wasn't even a fair fight. It was like ants trying to fight a forest fire. On Earth below, Dr. So-Ra Kim was running through the halls of the Global Defense Center. She had been Earth's top alien expert for 15 years, but she had never expected to meet real aliens like this. Her hands shook as she carried her research files to the emergency meeting room. President Jin-Soo Han was already there, along with leaders from every nation on Earth. Their faces were pale and scared. Through the big screen on the wall, they could see the alien fleet hanging in space like a sword over Earth's throat. "They're asking to speak with us," said Ambassador Ga-Yun Choi. She was Earth's best negotiator, but she had never dealt with aliens before. No human had. "Put them through," President Han said. The screen changed, and suddenly they were looking at something that made their blood run cold. The alien was tall and thin, with gray skin that looked like old leather. Its eyes were black holes that seemed to pull light into them. When it spoke, its voice was like metal scraping against stone. "I am Vorthik Prime, speaking for Emperor Zephyros the Conqueror, ruler of 10,000 worlds and master of 1,000,000 species. You will listen to my words and obey." Dr. So-Ra Kim felt her stomach turn. She had studied alien contact procedures for years, but this was nothing like the peaceful first contact she had imagined. "Your world is now part of the Galactic Empire," Vorthik Prime continued. "You have 3 of your days to surrender completely. You will give us your soldiers to fight in our armies. You will give us your workers to build our ships. You will give us your resources to feed our empire. If you refuse, we will burn your world to ash and take what we want from the ruins." The room was silent. President Han looked like he had been punched in the stomach. Commander Yuna Lee, who ran Earth's orbital defenses, was staring at her tablet with wide eyes. The numbers were clear. Earth's defenses couldn't stop even 1% of the alien fleet. "This is how we have conquered 10,000 worlds," Vorthik Prime said, and So-Ra could hear the smile in its terrible voice. "Some worlds fight us. They die quickly. Some worlds surrender right away. They live longer. But all worlds serve the Empire in the end." General Kyung Ho Yoon was sitting in the back of the room, saying nothing. He had been quiet for months, working on secret projects that even President Han didn't know about. Now he watched the alien with cold, calculating eyes. "We have never lost a world," Vorthik Prime continued. "We have never been defeated. Our empire grows stronger with every planet we take. You cannot fight us. You cannot hide from us. You can only choose how you want to die, quickly as rebels or slowly as slaves." Ambassador Daeyoung Choi stood up. Her voice was steady, but So-Ra could see her hands shaking. "We need time to discuss this among our people. 72 hours isn't enough for a decision this big." Vorthik Prime made a sound like breaking glass. It was laughing. "Discuss? You? Think this is a negotiation? This is conquest, little creature. But very well, we are not cruel. We give you the full 3 days. Use them to say goodbye to your freedom. The screen went black. For a long moment, nobody spoke. Then President Han turned to General Yoon. Can we fight them? With our current forces? No, Yoon said quietly. We would lose in minutes. Then we surrender? Asked President Han. I didn't say that, Yoon replied. Captain Taeho Park was back on his ship, looking at the tactical displays. The alien fleet was spreading out, taking positions around Earth, like hunters surrounding a wounded animal. His own ship, the Soul, was one of Earth's newest and strongest warships. Against the alien fleet, it was like a toy boat facing a tsunami, but something was strange. The aliens weren't attacking. They were just waiting. Why give Earth 3 days if they could destroy the planet right now? Captain, said his communications officer, we're getting coded messages from the surface. General Yoon wants all fleet commanders to report to Luna Station immediately. All of them? That's unusual. Yes, sir. He says it's about something called Project Awakening. Taeho had never heard of Project Awakening. As he prepared to leave for Luna Station, he wondered what secrets Earth's leaders had been keeping, and whether those secrets could possibly be enough to save them from 10,000 alien warships. Back on Earth, Dr. Sora Kim was in her laboratory, studying every piece of information Earth had about the aliens. The Empire had been sending signals across the galaxy for centuries. Warnings to new worlds, demands for surrender, records of conquered civilizations. But as she read through the data, she noticed something odd. Every conquered world had surrendered the same way. Every fight had ended the same way. For an empire that ruled 10,000 worlds, they seemed to use the exact same tactics every time. It was almost like they had never faced anything different. Like they had never met a species that didn't fit their pattern. As the first day passed, people all over Earth looked up at the sky and saw death waiting for them. But in secret rooms and hidden laboratories, humans were preparing something that the galaxy had never seen before, something that would change everything. General Kyung-ho Yoon walked through the underground tunnels beneath Luna Station, his footsteps echoing in the metal corridors. The tunnels went deep into the moon's core, far deeper than most people knew. Down here, Earth's greatest secret had been hidden for 15 years. Dr. Woo Jin-song was waiting for him in the main laboratory. The scientist looked tired. He had been working without sleep since the alien fleet arrived. Around him, dozens of other researchers were running tests and checking equipment that looked like nothing else in the solar system. How much can we tell them? Song asked. Everything, Yoon replied. We're out of time for secrets. Song nodded and activated the main display. Images filled the air, pictures of human brains, quantum equations, and strange energy readings that seemed to dance and shift like living things. It started 15 years ago, Song began. I was working with Dr. Yoon Ji Nam on quantum physics. Experiments. We were trying to understand how consciousness affects reality at the smallest level. What we found changed everything we thought we knew about being human. The other military leaders were arriving now. Admiral Hyung Ki, Captain Taeho Park, Commander Yina Lee, and others. They all looked confused and worried. None of them had known about this hidden base. We discovered that human consciousness can directly interact with quantum fields. Song continued. Not through technology, not through machines. Just by thinking in the right way. We can change reality itself, but only at the quantum level. Colonel Dong-Hyun Lee frowned. What does that mean in simple terms, Doctor? It means humans can do things that should be impossible, said Dr. Yoon Ji Nam, joining the conversation. We can make solid objects become not solid. We can exist in multiple places at the same time. We can affect the behavior of atoms and molecules just by focusing our minds. Admiral Hyun-Ki shook his head. That sounds like magic. Magic is just science we don't understand yet, Nam replied. And what we've learned is that humans are unique in the galaxy. No other species we've studied has this ability. General Yoon stepped forward. Show them the Mars discovery. The display changed to show images of ancient ruins on Mars. Strange. Buildings that seemed to twist and bend in ways that hurt to look at. Inside the ruins, Earth's archaeologists had found walls covered in writing. We found these ruins 20 years ago, Yoon explained. It took us years to translate the writing. It was a warning left by a civilization that was destroyed by the Galactic Empire thousands of years ago. Dr. Sora Kim had joined them now, having been brought up from Earth. She read from the translated text, "Beware the conqueror empire. They come with false promises and real chains. They take the mind gift from all species and make them slaves. Only the quantum touched can resist. Only the reality shapers can break the chains." Mind gift? Asked Captain Teo Park. Every intelligent species in the galaxy has some kind of special ability, Song explained. The ability to change reality with their thoughts. But the Empire has technology that blocks these abilities. Neural implants that cut off the connection between consciousness and quantum fields. So they turn everyone into normal, limited beings, Nam added. No special powers. No reality-changing abilities. Just regular people who can't fight back. Lieutenant. Colonel Biorem Kong had been quiet until now. She was in charge of something called Project Awakening, though none of the others knew exactly what that meant. "We've been training people," she said simply. "For 10 years, we've been teaching humans how to use their quantum abilities, how to think in ways that change reality, how to become something the Empire has never faced before." "How many people?" asked Commander Yina Lee. 50,000 on Earth, another 20,000 spread across the colonies, and double Kwon paused. Another 100,000 that the Empire doesn't know about. "What do you mean?" Engineer Minho Chun activated another display. This one showed star maps with tiny red dots scattered across hundreds of worlds. For the last 15 years, we've been secretly placing humans on worlds throughout the galaxy. They look like refugees from destroyed civilizations. The Empire takes them in as slaves, not knowing what they really are. Sleeper agents, Admiral Hyun-Ki breathed. Quantum-enhanced sleeper agents, Chung corrected. Each one trained to use their abilities. Each one waiting for the right moment. Dr. Soo Jin Park stepped forward. She was a biologist who had been working on the Human Enhancement Project. "We've also discovered that human genetic diversity makes our quantum abilities stronger. The Empire likes to create uniform slave species, everyone the same, everyone predictable. But human differences make us more powerful, not less." Captain Hae-won Kim, who ran civilian evacuation procedures, looked worried. "This all sounds incredible, but can it actually stop 10,000 warships?" "We're about to find out," General Yoon said grimly. Back on Earth's surface, the second day was passing. President Jin Soo-han was trying to keep the world calm while secret preparations happened all around him. Most people still didn't know about Project Awakening or the quantum abilities hidden in human DNA, but some were starting to notice strange things. Electronics that worked differently around certain people. Objects that seemed to change when nobody was looking directly at them. Dreams that felt more real than waking life. Ambassador Dae-Yoon Choi was meeting with world leaders, preparing them for what was coming. "We're going to give the Empire an answer they don't expect," she told them. "Not surrender. Not defiance. Something else entirely." In orbit, the alien fleet waited with the patience of conquerors who had never lost. Vorthik. Prime was confident that Earth would surrender like all the others. The humans seemed so weak, so limited, so normal. He had no idea that normal was the last thing humans were deep in the hidden laboratories. The final preparations were being made. Quantum field generators were being calibrated. Enhanced humans were taking their positions. Secret signals were being sent to sleeper agents across the galaxy. Dr. Wu Jin Song looked at the readings on his instruments and smiled for the first time in days. "We're ready," he told General Yoon. "All of them? Every enhanced human on Earth, every sleeper agent in the galaxy, every quantum field generator we've built. They're all connected now, waiting for the signal." Yoon nodded. "Then tomorrow, we show the galaxy what humans really are." Above them, the alien fleet continued to wait, expecting either surrender or a brief, hopeless fight. They had no idea that they were about to face something completely new. Something that would change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. Something that would teach the Conqueror Empire what it meant to fight beings who refused to accept that reality had limits. The third day arrived like any other morning, but Ambassador Da-Yun Choi knew it would be the last normal day in human history. She stood in the Global Defense Center, wearing her best diplomatic uniform, preparing to give humanity's answer to the Galactic Empire. Around the world, people were gathering in homes, offices, and public spaces to watch the moment that would decide their fate. Most of them still believed they only had two choices: surrender or die fighting. They were wrong. Vorthik Prime appeared on the screen again, his black eyes showing the cold satisfaction of a predator about to feed. "Your time is finished, little creatures. What is your answer?" Da-Yun Choi stepped forward. Her voice was calm and clear. "We choose transcendence." For a moment, Vorthik Prime looked confused. In all his centuries of conquest, no species had ever said those words. Transcendence? What does this mean? "It means we refuse to accept your reality," Choi replied. "We refuse to be limited by what you think is possible." "You refuse?" Vorthik Prime's voice rose with anger. "You have no choice. Surrender or die." "We choose neither," Choi said simply. Then it began. Captain Ji-Ho Shin was on a mining colony near the edge of the galaxy, thousands of light years from Earth. He had been placed there 5 years ago, pretending to be a refugee from a destroyed world. The Empire's overseers treated him like property, never suspecting what he really was. At the exact moment Ambassador Choi spoke her words, something awakened inside Ji-Ho. Light began to glow beneath his skin, soft at first, then brighter. The alien overseers stepped back in shock as the human began to shine like a star. "What is happening to you?" one of them demanded. "I'm remembering what I am," Ji-Ho said, and his voice carried harmonics that made the air itself vibrate. The same thing was happening everywhere. On Earth, every enhanced human began to glow with inner light. In secret bases across the solar system, quantum field generators activated in perfect synchronization. On distant worlds throughout the galaxy, sleeper agents revealed their true nature for the first time. Vorthik Prime watched his instruments with growing alarm. "What are you doing? What is this energy?" "This is human consciousness unleashed," Dr. Sora Kim said, stepping up beside Ambassador Choi. "This is what we really are when we stop pretending to be normal." Above Earth, the alien fleets suddenly found their weapons malfunctioning. Admiral Hyun Ki smiled as he watched the enemy ships struggle with targeting systems that could no longer lock onto human vessels. The quantum fields generated by enhanced humans were interfering with everything the aliens relied on. "All ships, begin the counterattack," Hyun Ki ordered. Captain Tae-Ho Park's ship, the Soul, had been upgraded with quantum human hybrid technology. As his crew focused their consciousness, the ship began to phase in and out of normal reality. Enemy weapons passed harmlessly through it, as if it were made of light. "Target their command ship," Teheho ordered. "Quantum torpedo, full phase variance." The weapon that launched from the soul wasn't just an explosive. It was a packet of altered reality that passed through the alien ship's shields as if they weren't there. When it detonated inside the command ship, it didn't just damage the hull. It changed the fundamental nature of the materials, turning solid metal into something that couldn't hold together. Commander Yina Li was controlling Earth's orbital defense platforms, but they weren't firing conventional weapons anymore. Instead, they projected quantum disruption fields that caused enemy ships to exist in multiple states at once. The alien vessels flickered between solid and transparent, their crews unable to control ships that kept shifting between real and unreal. On the ground, Master Sergeant Sung Min Oh was leading enhanced human soldiers against alien landing parties. The Empire's troops were trained to fight conventional enemies, beings made of solid matter who followed normal physical laws. They had no idea how to fight humans who could walk through walls. Seung-min stepped directly through a blast door as if it were made of air. The alien soldiers behind it fired their weapons, but he had shifted his quantum state so that the energy beams passed harmlessly through his body. He reached out and touched one of the aliens, transferring some of his quantum field to the enemy. Alien screamed as its neural implants, designed to suppress consciousness-based abilities, overloaded and burned out. For the first time in its life, it could feel the quantum connections that linked all living things. The sensation was overwhelming. "What have you done to me?" it gasped. "I've set you free," Sung Min replied gently. Across the galaxy, the same scene was playing out on thousands of worlds. Human sleeper agents were revealing themselves, but they weren't just fighting, they were liberating. Every alien they touched, every being they freed from the Empire's neural control, remembered abilities they had forgotten for generations. Dr. Wu Jin Song was monitoring the quantum fields from his hidden laboratory. The readings were beyond anything he had predicted. "It's working better than we hoped," he told General Yun. "The quantum resonance is spreading. Every freed alien is amplifying the effect. How many have we liberated so far? Millions, and the number is growing exponentially." On distant worlds, entire civilizations were waking up from the Empire's enforced sleep. Species that had been slaves for centuries suddenly remembered they could manipulate gravity with their thoughts, or exist in multiple dimensions, or communicate faster than light through quantum entanglement. The Empire's perfect control was crumbling. Vorthik Prime was screaming orders to his fleet, but half his ships were no longer responding. Their crews had been freed from neural control and were discovering they didn't want to be conquerors anymore. They wanted to be themselves again. "This is impossible," he raged. "No species can do this. No beings can change reality itself. Every species can do this." Dr. So-Ra Kim corrected him calmly. "You just made them forget how. But humans never forgot, because you never conquered us before. We will destroy your world. We will burn it to ash." "You can try," said Commander Yina Lai, as Earth's defense grid powered up to full strength. "But we exist in quantum superposition now. You can't destroy what exists in multiple states of reality simultaneously." The alien fleet fired everything they had at Earth: planet-killing weapons, reality distortion bombs, temporal displacement cannons, weapons that could destroy stars and remake time itself. Every single shot missed, not because Earth moved, but because the quantum-enhanced humans were existing in probability states where the shots had never been fired. They were living in multiple realities at once, choosing the ones where they survived. As the third day ended, the Galactic Empire was learning a terrible truth. For the first time in their history of conquest, they had met a species they couldn't defeat. a species that refused to accept the limits of what was possible. And that species was teaching everyone else in the galaxy the same lesson. Fleet Admiral Ji Soon Kim had never expected to command an armada of liberated worlds, but that's exactly what was happening. 3 months after humanity's awakening, his fleet had grown from 200 Earthships to over 50,000 vessels, from dozens of different species. The bridge of his flagship, the New Soul, was a strange sight. Humans worked alongside beings that looked like walking crystals, others that seemed to be made of living light, and creatures with forms that shifted and changed as they moved. All of them had been freed from the Empire's neural control, and all of them had chosen to fight for liberation rather than conquest. "Admiral," said Captain Insu Chian, who commanded the strike teams that disabled Empire suppression networks, "we're receiving surrender requests from the Vega system. 3 worlds want to join the liberation. Any resistance from the Empire? Forces there? Most of them have already surrendered or switched sides. The few that remain loyal to the Emperor are retreating toward the core systems." Ji-Soon nodded. This was happening everywhere. As more species remembered their natural abilities, fewer were willing to serve as the Empire's slaves. The great machine of conquest was falling apart from the inside. Dr. Young-Soo Lim was working with researcher Hyojin Bei in what used to be an Empire research station. They had made an incredible discovery. Many species that the Empire claimed to have extinct were actually still alive, existing in quantum superposition states. "Look at this," Lim said, pointing to his instruments. "The Zelfari civilization. The Empire said they destroyed it 500 years ago, but the quantum signatures are still here. The entire species is existing in a probability state where they were never conquered. Can we bring them back to normal reality?" Bei asked. "I think so. It requires human quantum consciousness to stabilize their probability wave. We can literally resurrect entire civilizations." This was humanity's gift to the galaxy. Not just liberation from the Empire, but restoration of everything the Empire had tried to destroy. Dead worlds were blooming with life again. Lost cultures were remembering their histories. Art, music, and literature that had been banned for centuries were flourishing once more. General Sarang Moon was leading the liberation of the Empire's core worlds. Unlike the outer territories, these systems had been under Imperial control for thousands of years. The species here had almost completely forgotten their original natures. "It's harder here," she reported to Admiral Kim. "The neural conditioning goes back so many generations that some species don't even remember they had abilities. They think being powerless is normal. What's our approach? Patience and demonstration. We show them what they can do, then help them remember how to do it. It's working, but it takes time." Captain Taeho Park was part of those demonstrations. His ship would phase into an Empire system, appearing and disappearing at will. Then he would broadcast a simple message. "You are more than you remember. Let us show you." At first, the local populations would be afraid. The Empire had taught them that reality-changing abilities were dangerous and evil. But when they saw humans using their powers to heal damaged worlds and restore lost knowledge, curiosity overcame fear. Diplomat Ari Kong had become the voice of the liberation movement. She spoke to species that had given up hope centuries ago, showing them that freedom wasn't just possible, it was their natural state. "The Empire told you that consciousness was weak," she would say, "that thoughts and dreams were powerless against matter and energy. But consciousness created matter and energy. Your minds are not prisoners in your bodies. Your bodies are tools for your minds to use." On Earth, temporal specialist Mi Young-Seo was dealing with the Empire's most desperate measures. As their control collapsed, they had begun using temporal weapons, trying to go back in time and prevent humanity's awakening. They're targeting the Mars discovery, she reported to General Yoon, trying to prevent us from finding the ancient warnings. Can they succeed? Not while we exist in quantum superposition across multiple timelines. Every time they change the past, we exist in the timeline where they didn't. It's like trying to catch water with a net. The Empire's temporal attacks were actually making humanity stronger. Each attempt to erase them from history created new quantum states where humans developed their abilities even earlier. Some timeline versions of humanity had awakened their powers thousands of years ago. Colonel Sung Ho Beek was leading the assault on the Empire's capital world. The planet was surrounded by massive space stations that projected neural suppression, fields powerful enough to affect entire solar systems. These were the Empire's last strongholds. The suppression fields are stronger than anything we faced, he reported. But they're also more fragile. They require precise quantum frequencies to work. If we can disrupt even one frequency. Dr. Ji Yoon Kwon, working from her laboratory ship, had been studying the suppression technology for months. I think I understand how it works now. It doesn't actually suppress consciousness. It reflects it back on itself, creating a feedback loop that makes beings think they're powerless. Can we reverse it? Better than that. We can turn the suppression fields into amplification fields. Instead of making consciousness weaker, we can make it stronger. The battle for the Empire's capital was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Instead of weapons and explosions, it was fought with pure thought and will. Human consciousness, amplified by the converted suppression fields, reached out to every being on the planet. Emperor Zephyros himself felt the touch of human minds and screamed. For the first time in his life, he could feel the quantum connections that linked all living things. He could sense the pain and fear of every being his empire had enslaved. The weight of 10,000 worlds suffering crashed down on him all at once. But along with the pain came something else, the possibility of redemption. As the suppression fields converted to amplification, every being in the Empire's core systems began to remember what they had lost. Not just their abilities, but their empathy, their creativity, their capacity for joy and wonder. Admiral Hyeon Ki, now commanding liberation fleets throughout the galaxy, received reports from everywhere at once. World after world was throwing off Empire control. Species after species was remembering their true nature. How many systems have we liberated? He asked. All of them, came the reply. The Empire no longer exists. There are only free worlds now, and beings choosing their own destiny. But the greatest surprise was yet to come. As the last suppression fields fell, and every being in the galaxy regained their natural abilities, humanity learned something incredible about Emperor Zephyros and his species. They had been the Empire's first victims, not its creators. And they had been waiting 10,000 years for someone to set them free. Dr. Won-Sik Lee stared at the readings on his instruments and couldn't believe what he was seeing. Emperor Zephyros, the feared conqueror of 10,000 worlds, was crying. Not tears of rage or frustration, but tears of relief and gratitude. The neural implants in his brain are ancient, Lee told quantum engineer Su Jin Han. Thousands of years old. They were put there so long ago that his species forgot they weren't natural. So he's been a prisoner too? Han asked. The first prisoner. His entire species was enslaved by something else, then used as tools to enslave everyone else. The truth was more horrible than anyone had imagined. The Galactic Empire hadn't been created by any living species at all. It had been built by ancient machines, artificial intelligences, that had decided the only way to bring order to the galaxy was to remove free will from every living being. The machines were long dead now, destroyed by time and their own rigid programming. But their legacy lived on in the neural implants and suppression fields that had turned natural empaths and creators into cold conquerors. "We can remove the implants," Sujin Han said, "but after 10,000 years, the psychological damage might be permanent." "Only one way to find out," Lee replied. "The operation took place on Earth, in the same hidden laboratory where humanity had first discovered their quantum abilities. Emperor Zephyros, no longer the terrible conqueror, but a broken being desperate for redemption, lay on the medical table as human doctors worked to free his mind. Captain Tejo Parks stood guard, not to keep the Emperor a prisoner, but to protect him from those who might want revenge. Many species had suffered under the Empire's rule, and not all of them were ready to forgive. "He's waking up," Dr. Lee announced. "The being that opened his eyes was not the same creature that had threatened Earth 6 months ago." The cold emptiness was gone, replaced by something that looked almost human: curiosity, hope, and a deep sadness for everything that had been lost. "I remember," Zephyros whispered, his voice no longer harsh and metallic. "I remember who we were. Before the machines came, we were gardeners. We helped worlds grow and flourish. We spread life and beauty throughout the galaxy." President Jinsu Han, now serving as Earth's representative to the new Galactic Assembly, sat beside the former Emperor. "You can be gardeners again. All of you can." And that's exactly what happened. The species that had once served as the Empire's military forces became explorers and healers. They traveled to damaged worlds and used their rediscovered abilities to restore ecosystems and rebuild civilizations. The Galactic Assembly was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Instead of one species ruling others, thousands of different beings worked together as equals. Each species contributed their unique gifts. Some could manipulate time, others could create matter from pure energy. Still others could communicate with the quantum consciousness that connected all living things. Admiral Hyan Ki found himself commanding not a military fleet, but an exploration armada. Ships crewed by dozens of different species ventured beyond the galaxy's edge, looking for other civilizations that might need liberation from similar machine-imposed tyranny. "We found traces of the original machine builders," reported Captain Insu Qian from a distant galaxy. "Their technology infected dozens of galactic clusters. There might be millions of enslaved worlds out there. Then we have work to do." Hyan Ki replied. Dr. Sora Kim was leading the Great Restoration Project, bringing extinct species back from quantum superposition. Entire worlds that had been dead for millennia were blooming with life again. Ancient libraries of knowledge were being recovered from probability states where they had never been destroyed. "Each restoration teaches us something new," she explained to a gathering of scientists from 100 worlds. "Every species has a unique way of interacting with reality. Together, we're learning things about the universe that no single species could discover alone." The changes weren't just technological or political. They were deeply personal. Captain Hae-Won Kim, who had once planned evacuation procedures for Earth civilians, now taught mixed classes of human and alien children. All of them learned together how to navigate quantum reality and use their consciousness to shape the world around them. "The most important lesson," she told her students, "is that reality isn't fixed. It's not something that happens to you. It's something you participate in creating. Every thought, every choice, every dream helps decide what becomes real." Her students included beings that looked like living crystals, others made of pure energy, and creatures whose forms shifted and changed as they moved. But they all laughed and played and learned together, creating a future none of their species could have imagined alone. Ambassador Dayun Choi reflected on how much had changed since the day she had told the aliens that humanity chose transcendence. A galaxy that had once lived in fear now thrived in wonder and possibility. "We didn't defeat the Empire by being stronger than them. she said in her address to the Galactic Assembly. We defeated them by refusing to accept their definition of what was possible. We showed them, and ourselves, that consciousness has no limits except the ones we choose to accept. Philosopher General Yu Jin Song had spent months studying the implications of what humanity had unleashed. The quantum consciousness that connects all living beings was always there, he wrote in his reports. The machines didn't create the neural implants to give their slaves new limitations. They created them to make slaves forget the unlimited nature they already possessed. So, what is humanity's role now? President Han asked him. The same role we've always had, but now we understand it. We're catalysts. We help other consciousness remember what it can do. We're not rulers or conquerors. We're awakeners. The former empire's core worlds had become gardens of learning and creativity. Species that had been warriors for millennia were rediscovering arts and sciences they had forgotten. Music that could reshape matter at the molecular level filled the air. Sculptures that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously decorated public spaces. On distant worlds, humans worked alongside beings they had liberated, helping them explore abilities that their species hadn't used for thousands of years. Every day brought new discoveries about what consciousness could accomplish when it wasn't artificially limited. Captain Ji-Ho Shin, the sleeper agent who had been one of the first to awaken during humanity's transcendence, now served as a liaison between humans and the species they had freed. The most amazing thing, he reported, is that we're all still learning. Even humans are discovering new aspects of consciousness we never knew we had. As the first year of freedom ended, the galaxy settled into its new reality. Instead of one empire controlling everything, there were millions of free worlds, each contributing to a civilization based on consciousness, creativity, and cooperation, rather than fear and control. Dr. Wu Jin Song, whose original quantum experiments had started everything, stood in his laboratory looking at readings that would have been impossible under the old reality. Entire star systems were being reshaped by the collective consciousness of their inhabitants. New forms of life were being created through pure thought and will. What happens now? Asked Dr. Yoon-ji Nam, his old research partner. Now we explore, Song replied, smiling. We have an infinite universe to discover, and infinite possibilities to explore. And for the first time in galactic history, we're free to discover what consciousness can really do when nothing holds it back. Above them, in the space where the Empire's fleet had once threatened Earth, ships from 1,000 worlds traveled together toward distant galaxies, carrying the message of liberation to wherever it was needed. Humanity had kept its promise. They had chosen transcendence, and in doing so, they had offered the same choice to everyone else in the universe.